Um, well, for starters, if what you heard me say yesterday was your first time ever hearing me say those things, my apologies if it was rather jarring. It is a lot to take in. I understand that. But that is my story, and it continues today. And if it was your first time hearing it yesterday, I suppose there really is no going back. For those of you who have heard this part of the story before, you know what's next. As I said yesterday, because of being labeled on the spectrum at the time, and my parents putting me in special education, I had started to contemplate suicide. Now, at first it was pretty minor in terms of what my overall thoughts were. For example, I never really outright said, I'm going to kill myself. Never once quite did that. Really as bad as it ever got was, whenever during lunch, when I had to go back to the special education room to eat my lunch, I would always take time to go to the bathroom. Obviously because I had to go to the bathroom at that time. But also, the special education room in Horseheads was on the second floor and the bathroom was right down the hall. And, at least in the boys' room, because obviously I would have no idea what the girls' room looks like, there was a window and the window was always open. I kid you not, I would look out the window and, to quote Squidward from SpongeBob from that one episode, I wonder if a fall from this height would be enough to kill me. So that's the sort of, gives you a little taste of what I was thinking. Now, in terms of what changed everything. Well, that all begins during my senior year at Horseheads. It was relatively early relatively early in our season, and we had lost to a school called Fayetteville Manlius 38-3. So I'm not really feeling great after the fact. And on top of that, at the time, I didn't really appreciate going to church, and we had to go to church after the game. See, back in the day, before Horseheads had the stadium it has now, Horseheads home games were always on Saturday afternoons because we didn't have any lights. Now they have lights, and it's great. But at the time they didn't. So it was Saturday afternoon. I drive back to my folks' place because obviously I'm still living there because I'm only 17 then. Drove into the driveway and the hand-me-down Ford Explorer that belonged to my dad, then my brother, and then me. It was green, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. I'm just getting out of the car, and out comes my mother. And she walked up to me and began to suggest that I repeat my senior year at an all-boys prep school known as Trinity Pauling. Now, unfortunately, my parents to this day don't really know how to time things properly because I had just come back from a football game where we lost horribly. And so my mother's walking out to me telling me what I should do after I graduate high school. So all I'm thinking is, do I really look like I have, or do I really look like I want to talk about my future at the moment? But she suggested I go to Trinity Pawling. And full stop. Really, she suggested I go to any prep school because I did look at a couple, as long as a few colleges I looked at. We looked at Wilbraham-Munson, Suffield. I think those were the only ones we looked at. But when we went to Trinity Pawling, well, when I first looked at Trinity Pawling, my initial reaction was, is this place a college? Well, it's college prep, so yeah, there you go. Now, I had several reasons why I wanted to go. Not one of them was remotely for a very good reason. For example, there was one kid who had graduated before me who, I mean, nowadays, you know, we're cool, but I really did not like this guy at all. In fact, frankly, I went to Trinity Pawling so I could, you know, kick his ass next time I saw him. Also, while my time at Horseheads really wasn't great, and I'll get into this in tomorrow's video, there were some good moments, and one of them was my junior year. I actually got a date to junior prom. Me, of all people. I had a date to junior prom. It was even cooler when you stop to consider the fact that the girl I took to junior prom was the senior prom queen a few months prior. I probably used up all the luck I will ever have in life from that. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe if I go to Trinity Pawling, maybe I can rewrite that narrative. That way, if I ever see that girl ever again, you know, I could ask her out for real. Because, you know, maybe I actually have the proper tutelage to, you know, make it happen. Considering that I've been single for almost 16 years at this point, should tell you that didn't really work. Regardless, I did think those things, but ultimately, whether I realized it or not, I thought Trinity Pawling was where I was going to go to die. And in many ways, Trinity Pawling would have been the perfect place to commit suicide when you think about it. I mean, I'm far away from home. No one knows me. They're certainly not going to care if I go, or no one in there, and no one there is going to miss me because, again, they don't really know me. So, yeah, I really was resigned to, you know, end it there. It was September 2nd, 2008. It was a Tuesday. And that was when I went to Trinity Pawling to begin the school year. Obviously, having worked hard, got accepted in, etc. And I didn't really start crying as I was on my way there until we were actually driving on the highway overlooking Elmira. And God rest her soul, my grandmother called me. Wow, this is the first year I'm doing this video, and I get to this part of the story, and my grandmother is no longer with us. Crazy. Anyway, she had called me, and I started to cry. Deep down, and I do mean deep down, it was because I really thought it'd be the last time I'd ever hear her voice ever again. Thankfully, that's not the case, but I'll get to that a little bit later. I get to Trinity Pawling, and within several hours, I had already began running cross country. I couldn't do football at Trinity Pawling because Trinity Pawling only takes 4 postgraduates, and they already picked out their 4 postgraduates before they accepted me, so not really much I could do. Plus, really, I was there at Trinity Pawling for wrestling anyway. And in the grand scheme of things, cross country is probably the sport you want to do if you want to wrestle in the winter. More on that in a minute. Within several hours, I began my first cross country practice. And from that moment on, it was just go, 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 go. You know, cross country started, classes started. I began doing the fall production of a black comedy. Right, I've also got to mention I was in the school plays, if you didn't already know. I grew to be so incredibly busy with everything I was doing. Again, with cross country practice, getting my schoolwork done, performing black comedy. I grew to be so busy that I forgot what my objective was. So much so that, days, weeks, even months went by. We're already at the Fall Athletic Awards, and at that moment, my overall personality was almost a complete 180 because, I was working hard in school and my grades were showing that. I was getting good grades. I did a good job actually having speaking lines in a play doing black comedy, and I did a good job of that. Most outstanding, in my opinion, however, was again at the Fall Athletic Honor Awards, which I mentioned earlier, because I actually won an award. Remember, I was a football player at Horseheads. I had no business really doing even any good doing cross country. I wound up making the top 7, which, if you know cross country terms, and it's pretty outstanding. And I was a lineman too. Seriously, there were probably guys I was heavier than. I was probably like 215, 210, roughly somewhere in that area when this was going on. So, I dropped some weight, obviously, due to cross country, but, I was still a pretty big guy. And I actually won the Sean McCabe Award for excellence in running cross country. I'll never forget my coach walked up to me and he said, "Your name is now engraved in Trinity Pawling history, and it'll be there forever." Now, I want to make one thing clear. When all of this was happening, I really was proud of everything I accomplished. And to this day, I still am. growing more and more proud as time goes on, looking back on it. But during that time, I couldn't help but think, this is never going to last. I mean, being on stage, being recognized by all my peers, doing a sport that I had no business doing well in at all, that's never going to last. Pretty soon, we're going to be so engrossed by the colder weather, the holiday season coming up, Thanksgiving break, and then winter break coming up. They're going to forget all about me and move on. So it was then I got to thinking about contemplating suicide again. And it was then I decided, okay, with the holiday season coming up, as I just mentioned, and my birthday being December 28th, so me turning 19 at the time, one last holiday season with my parents, one last Christmas, one last birthday, one last New Year with my family, so I can be with them, tell them I love them one last time, and then I can go back to Trinity Poly and, end it. And I was going to do that all in January 2009. So, if you couldn't already tell, it's clearly not January of 2009, it's December 2024. So, what happened? What made you change your mind and made you still be here? Well, it was on this very day, 16 years ago. I will never forget this day, as even now I can remember everything I did. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I was at Trinity Poly for wrestling, because that was going to be my main sport of choice. Because, just during my time at Horseheads, I really did grow to be better at wrestling. I really did. And it really did help build confidence in me. And it actually got me a girlfriend, more on that later. And we're still sort of in the early stages of the season, specifically, and it was a Saturday, so today actually, when all this went down. Now, on this day, 16 years ago, Trinity Poly went to the Loomis Chaffee dueling tournament. Loomis Chaffee is another prep school. Now, for those of you who don't know, today, Horseheads Wrestling, one of the best schools in the country, in the state of New York. Back then, though, not even close. We never got to go to big tournaments like the Beast of the East or any of those big ones, or we never even got invited to dual meet tournaments. So this was my very first dual meet tournament. So it was a brand new experience for me. On top of that, it was my father's first time seeing me wrestle for the blue and the gold, the Trinity Poly school colors, blue and gold. And on top of that, among the matches I had that day, my first match was a forfeit because the school that we wrestled against didn't have anyone in my weight class. I was at 215 at the time. That was the weight class then, 215. But my first actual opponent of the day was actually someone who I was getting to rematch. Specifically, I had lost to this kid from Avon Old Farms, one of Trinity Poly's biggest rivals. They're another all-boys school. I lost to that kid in sudden death the week before. at the Canterbury Christmas Invitational, which, fun fact about Canterbury, Paris Hilton actually went there. Not that she graduated there, but she did go there for a little bit, so no fun fact for you. So it's my first dual meet tournament ever. I'm about to rematch a kid who beat me the week before. Not to mention my father is there in the stands cheering me on. I was not going to let that opportunity pass me by. So I did. I beat that kid. Overall, including the forfeit, I went 3-1 for the day. I lost to a kid from a tall, lanky kid from from a school from New Jersey. He tech faulted me, I believe. So, there you go. Because if your parents came to the dual meet tournament, you could get to ride home with them. I rode back to Trinity Poly with my dad, but not before we went to a place called Putnam Diner for dinner. I had been to Putnam Diner before due to the fact that we went there for a dorm parent dinner. So I got to show my dad Putnam Diner. He really liked it. And then the next day, there was a whole bunch of Christmas stuff that was supposed to go on. I was going to spend the day with my dad. Honestly, December 14th, 2008 was, I'd say, just about as perfect of a day as you'd hope for. And it's at this point I really wish that's where the story ended. But sadly, there's more. It was the next morning, so the 15th. Actually, I should explain. What I'm about to tell you takes place over the span of several days. It starts on the 14th and really picks up right now. It was Sunday morning, December 15th, 2008. I got up early, hung out in the den of Dunbar Dormitory, was watching TV, laying on the couch, and in comes my dorm parent, who proceeded to tell me to walk over to the chapel. Now, we weren't supposed to have Sunday, because at Trinity Poly have Sunday chapel, really just to keep tabs on who's still on campus in case people went home or whatever. I never got to go home because Trinity Poly was like 200 miles away from home. I'd spend more time in the car than I would actually at home. And the time I'd be at home would be to get 8 hours of sleep. Anyway. Now, I trust my dorm parent because he's a good man. So I walk over to the chapel and she sit down and people start coming in over time. I'll never forget that one of my best friends there, he was sitting to my left, and this person had a naturally pale complexion, but he looked so pale it was as if he had seen a ghost. I didn't think much of it at the time. And then in walks our headmaster, who proceeds to say a few words. For the life of me, I couldn't remember what he had said. It was what he said at the end that I'll never forget. And that was the fact that last night, one of my brothers from Trinity Poly had died. Via committing suicide. His name was Andrew Einstein. Just the shock of, did that really just happen? Did we really just hear this? but it was the God's honest truth. And now I know what my friend sitting next to me looks so pale for. What proceeded over the next couple of days, because for reference, like a few days from then we would go home for winter break. So winter break was literally right around the corner. And over the next few days, everything became just somber and depressing. And what I bore witness to, I will never forget. But every single one of my brothers wound up saving my life that day. Because during that time, I mean, because remember, this takes place from the 14th to the 18th. The 18th. My brothers, especially after one of the services we had, they're hugging. They're like these guys. Some of these guys are even bigger and stronger than I was, and they're hugging. They're crying. They had each other's backs. Sound familiar? I say that at the end of every video, and that's why I do. And I also want to make one thing clear. Trinity Pawling, the student body of Trinity Pawling, was a very diverse group of people. You had gentlemen of different, races, colors, religion, nationality, creed, whatever. 300 of us, plus. And we all had each other's backs. There was no race. There was no religion or color or nationality or creed. The only word that seemed to matter most was brother. And we lost one of our own that day. It was then I thought two things to myself. Because, I didn't just know Andrew Einstein. Andrew Einstein was one of my teammates for cross country. I mentioned I won the Sean McCabe Award for the Fall Athletic Honor Awards. Well, Andrew won the Coaches Award. He was arguably the fastest kid we had on the team, actually. And he was also one of the nicest people you would have ever met. I like to say to those, my brothers from Trinity Pawling who knew Andrew, you knew exactly who he was. And to the good folks in the 607 who may be watching this, I guarantee you if you got to know Andrew, you would have loved him. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Ladies, he was from South Carolina. He had the accent. Ladies love the accent. The Southern gentleman, if you will. I actually got to make him laugh. I'll never forget, it was during cross-country practice. We were doing our stretches and warming up, and we were making jokes about names of the dormitories, and there's one dormitory called Barstow, and I came up with Barstoners. Andrew Einstein laughed at that. Not to mention, again, he was the nicest guy. Everybody loved him. And to make matters even better for him, he was a lacrosse player. Now, Trinity Pawling, lacrosse at Trinity Pawling, huge. It's like lacrosse is in the spring for Trinity Pawling, what football is for the fall for Trinity Pawling, and what hockey is for the winter at Trinity Pawling. Like, lacrosse is like the big spring sport of choice. And Andrew Einstein was there for lacrosse. And this is at a time where Trinity Pawling had just won New England's for cross country. For reference, winning New England's for Trinity Pawling would be like Horseheads winning states. So when I say this is huge, this is really huge. Andrew Einstein had all of that going for him. And I, on the other hand, I mean, I mentioned all yesterday why, I contemplated suicide and what caused me to believe that. I thought I had all the more reason to commit suicide. I had every right to contemplate suicide comparatively. But I didn't. It was during those next couple of days of Trinity Pawling that what I bore witness to I will never forget. As I mentioned before, everyone had each other's backs. They're hugging, they're crying. And so I thought two things to myself. Sorry if it seems like I'm repeating some of these things a little bit. I just want to make sure I say everything that I feel I can. I always fix things later, but you get the idea. The first thing I thought was, if that had been me who had, committed suicide, would these guys be weeping for me like they're weeping for Andrew? I don't know. And this is the second thing I thought of, and that was, I will never know. Because I couldn't do that to them. Those guys are my brothers. As sad as it was to know of Andrew Einstein's passing, that young man saved my life. And seeing my brothers collect the unity amongst everything that happened, my brothers saved my life. I am here today because of them. And that's why I hold Trinity Pawling in as high regard as I do. Because that place saved me. Now, as much as I would like to say that this story has a happy ending, well, technically, this story is my story, and my story ends on that day of reckoning when it is my time to go. But I can tell you, that's not going to happen for a really long time. Listen, if I was going to commit suicide, then was the time to do it. If I didn't do it then, I'm never going to do it now. For better or for worse, I am here for the long haul. And believe me, there have been some pretty not so good times. After winter break, we still had to go back. It was still cold and depressing, and there was one night where I thought, what would my mom think if I killed myself? Good Lord, how would she handle it, And I've had my fair share of disappointments over these last 16 years. But I can tell you right now, there have been some pretty damn good moments too. I got to graduate from college. I've rode 4 100-mile bike rides for charity, 2 of which were for JDRF. The other two were for the food bank of the Southern Tier. I ran a half marathon, which is the Red Baron, and 4 full wine glass marathons. I got to see my brother fall in love, get engaged, get married, and be the father to 3 beautiful children. Sorry. My brother is the father to 3 beautiful children. My nephews, who I love very, very much. My nephews I love very, very much. I do. Boys, if you ever watch this, Uncle Nick loves you. I got to do all that. And no one can ever take that away from me. I got to live all that. I'll say it again. I got to live all that. And I'm still here. I'm still very much here, and I'm not going anywhere. If any of you take anything from what I've revealed on this day, please know that if you ever are feeling down, please go talk to someone. Talk to me. Talk to me. I know that feeling better than anyone. I've been through that, so I know. Life may not be perfect, but I tell you what, it's still damn beautiful to live. And it's made all the more beautiful when you live to be able to see other things as well. I mean, the things I've been able to bear witness to. I mean, several presidential elections, some of my favorite shows ever coming into existence, 4 Avengers movies, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm a big movie guy. You know, I got to fall in love with One Piece again, and I still read One Piece to this very day. Not to mention, I get to make these videos. I get to do that. And it's awesome. And now you know why I love doing it, because I get to do it. Because if I was long gone, none of this happens. So I implore any of you, especially this time of year when things can be pretty rough, if you are going through any kind of trouble, please talk to somebody, anyone. You'd be amazed at just how far you'll get and how beautiful life is if you just stay here. I mean, again, my life isn't perfect, and I'll get into more of that tomorrow. But for now, I can safely say that I am beyond humbled that I was able to share this story with all of you today. I am all the hopeful you take my story, heed these words, and use them in your daily life, or help others if you can. That's another reason why I'm glad I get to tell this story. Because you know what? I got myself out, and if you're having trouble, you can too. And always remember, if any of you want to talk or chat or whatever it is you want to do, please know that there are people in your life who care, who love you, and will do anything for you if you just ask politely to help you. If you don't feel like talking to anyone, again, talk to me. I'll do my best to listen to whatever you have to say. So, like my brothers on that very day, all those years ago, I will always have your back. So take care and please make good choices. Have a nice day, everyone.